The sun hung low over the wide plains, painting the sky with soft gold and pale red. It was the hour when shadows stretched long and every rock and bush looked taller than it was. On this quiet evening, a young Apache girl named Nayeli moved through the land with quick steps and confident energy. She was small in size but strong in spirit, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her people often said she had a wild heart. She wanted to prove she was brave, skilled, and ready to handle the world outside her camp. But today, she had wandered farther than she should have. She told herself she was only exploring, but deep inside, she wanted to chase the Mustang herd she had seen several times from a distance. The horses were fast, proud, and beautiful. She admired their free spirits and believed that if she could get close to them, it would show she was capable, that she was not just a young girl anymore. The plains were open and quiet, only the wind whispering through the grass. Nayeli searched for signs of the herd. She found hoof marks and broken grass stems. She followed them without thinking too deeply. Her excitement carried her forward. Then she spotted movement. A young, strong Mustang stood near a hill, its coat shining in the sun. It was alone, probably separated from the group for a moment. Nayeli's heart jumped with excitement. Without planning, without caution, she began to move toward it. She crouched low, trying to walk quietly, but the horse sensed her presence. Its ears twitched, its muscles tightened. Nayeli acted too fast. She rushed forward, thinking she could surprise it. The Mustang reared up, frightened, and bolted across the plain. Nayeli ran after it. The ground was uneven, but she ignored that. Her focus was only on the animal. She chased it down a small slope, her feet moving too quickly, her balance slipping. The Mustang dashed away with powerful steps, dust rising in its wake. Nayeli took one more running step, and then her foot caught on a hidden rock. She fell hard. The breath left her chest. A sharp pain shot up her ankle. She gasped and tried to sit up, but her body felt heavy for a moment. The Mustang was now far away, its silhouette vanishing into the tall grass. She winced as she tested her ankle. It hurt more than she wanted to admit. She clenched her teeth. She did not want anyone to see her like this, especially not someone from outside her tribe. But someone had seen. A deep, steady voice spoke from behind her. "You okay there?" She spun around, startled. A tall cowboy stood a few steps away, holding the reins of a gentle brown horse. His clothes were dusty, worn from ranch work, his hat shaded, his calm eyes, and his face carried the quiet patience of someone who spent more time with animals than with people. His name was Caleb, though she did not know it yet. He had been riding nearby, checking on his cattle, when he saw a small figure chasing a Mustang like a whirlwind. He had slowed his horse, wondering who it might be, and then watched her fall. He rushed over when he realized she was hurt. Nayeli's pride bristled. She did not like the idea of being seen in a weak moment, especially by a stranger. She pushed herself up quickly, hiding her wince. "I'm fine," she said sharply. Caleb didn't look convinced. He didn't look fine from where I was. His voice wasn't teasing or rude. It was calm and gentle. But Nayeli still felt embarrassed. She folded her arms and looked away. "I don't need help." "Maybe," he replied softly, "but your ankle might say otherwise." She lifted her chin stubbornly. "I can take care of myself." Caleb nodded slowly, as if respecting her words but not agreeing. He stepped closer, but not too close, just enough to show he wasn't leaving her alone in the middle of nowhere. His horse snorted behind him, lowering its head toward the ground. Nayeli tried to stand up fully. The moment her injured foot touched the ground, a sharp pain shot through it, making her stumble. Caleb stepped forward quickly and steadied her with one hand before she could fall again. She jerked away, cheeks burning. "I said I'm fine." Caleb pulled his hand back without argument. He didn't seem angry. Instead, he simply pointed toward a shaded patch of rock nearby. "At least sit for a minute. It's cooler there. You don't want that ankle to swell too much." Nayeli hesitated, torn between pride and pain. The throbbing in her ankle grew stronger. She sighed sharply, then limped toward the shade. Caleb walked beside her silently, making sure she wouldn't trip again, but not touching her. When she sat down, she finally calmed enough to study him more carefully. He was older than she was, maybe late 20s, with strong shoulders and a quiet face. His eyes were steady, almost peaceful. She expected him to speak with authority, or to scold her for running recklessly. But he didn't. He just crouched a few feet away and gave her space. "You chase mustangs often?" he asked gently. His tone surprised her. It wasn't mocking. It was curious, almost friendly. Nayeli looked down. "I was trying to get close to one." "By running straight at it?" Caleb asked, but his voice held a small hint of humor, not judgment. She frowned. "I know how to track. I know how to follow signs." He nodded. "I can see that." He found the herd's trail. She glanced up, surprised that he understood that detail just by looking at the ground. "But next time," he continued, "you might want to approach slower. Mustangs scare easy, especially if they don't know you." She didn't want to admit he was right. Caleb leaned a little closer, but still kept a respectful distance. "Mind if I look at that ankle?" Nayeli pulled back slightly. "Why? So you don't make it worse," he said calmly. "You'll walk home eventually. Better to know what's going on." His soft logic left no argument. After a moment, she gave a tiny nod. Caleb carefully checked her ankle without causing pain. His movements were slow, gentle. Nayeli watched him, expecting roughness, but he handled her injury like someone who worked with frightened animals, steady and patient. "It's not broken," he said after a moment, "just a twist. You'll be all right if you rest a little." She felt a small wave of relief, though she didn't show it. Caleb stood up again and dusted off his hands. "Shouldn't be too far to your camp?" Nayeli hesitated. "Far enough." "Then you can rest here until the pain calms down." She didn't answer, but she didn't argue either. After a few moments of quiet, she finally spoke. "You're a cowboy," she said, almost as if stating a warning. He smiled slightly. "Guilty." "Why are you helping me?" Caleb shrugged. "Seemed like the right thing to do." Nayeli blinked, confused. She wasn't used to strangers offering help without asking anything in return. "And you didn't get angry when I talked rude?" Caleb chuckled softly. "You were embarrassed. That's all. I wasn't going to make it worse." Nayeli felt heat rise in her cheeks again. She looked away quickly. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then said quietly, "Nayeli." "Well, Nayeli," Caleb replied, "next time you want to get close to a Mustang, try moving slower. Let it see you as part of the land. Don't rush it." She frowned. "You think I don't know that?" He tilted his head. "I think you know a lot. But sometimes your spirit moves faster than your steps." For a moment, Nayeli sat silently, surprised by how well he described her nature. She felt seen but not judged. She wasn't sure she liked that feeling. A long breeze passed through the plains. Carrying the scent of grass and earth, Caleb stood with his horse, waiting patiently, not rushing her. The sky slowly shifted toward deeper orange. Finally, Nayeli pushed herself up with care. "Her ankle hurt less now. I can walk." Caleb nodded. "I won't follow you, but I'll stay here until you're far enough. It's just to make sure you're steady." She almost told him she didn't need that, but the truth was she didn't mind it. She took a careful step. It hurt. She took another better. She walked a few more steps. Right. Keeping her back straight, pretending she wasn't grateful. Caleb watched quietly, his hand resting on his horse's neck. Before she disappeared over the next hill, she turned slightly. "Thank you," she said softly. Caleb tipped his hat. "Anytime." Nayeli walked on, feeling confused, annoyed, and strangely curious. She had come to the plains to prove her strength. Instead, she had learned something unexpected there. Was a man out there who was calm when she acted wild, patient when she was rude, and gentle when she felt embarrassed? She didn't want to admit it, but one thought stayed in her mind. She wanted to see him again. The next few days passed quietly on the plains, but inside Naheli's mind, nothing felt calm. She kept remembering the moment she slipped, the way the Mustang ran away, the sharp pain in her ankle, and most of all the cowboy who helped her without judging her. She did not like feeling unsure. She did not like remembering his patient face. She did not like the strange warmth she felt when she replayed his words about her spirit being faster than her steps. Naheli told herself she didn't care. She told herself she only wanted to visit the plains again to watch the Mustangs. But deep inside, she knew she wanted to see Caleb again. The morning sun touched the land with soft warmth when she left her camp. Her ankle felt better now. She carried a small pouch of dried berries and water. Her mother asked where she was going, and Naheli simply said she wanted air and to walk near the hills. Her mother nodded. "Do not go too far," Naheli promised, though she knew she would go exactly where she wasn't supposed to. She walked across the tall grass. Her steps lighter than last time. Every bird call, every whisper of wind made her feel more alive. When she reached the gentle slope overlooking the plain, she paused. There he was, Caleb. He rode slowly across the field, checking on his cattle. His horse moved with a calm, steady rhythm. He didn't see her yet, but the sight of him made her pulse jump. She felt annoyed at herself for reacting like that. She took a deep breath and stepped forward down the hill. Caleb finally noticed her when she was halfway across the field. He stopped his horse and raised a hand in greeting. Not surprised, not bothered, just calm and friendly. "Well, look who's walking better," he said, guiding his horse toward her. Naheli kept her face serious. "I told you I was fine." He smiled at her stubbornness. "Your steps say you're doing better." She glanced at his horse. "You're checking your cattle?" "Ma'am, coyotes spooked them last night. They scattered a bit." It pointed toward a group of cows standing far away. "Still gathering them back?" Naheli folded her arms as if deciding something important. "I can help." Caleb blinked with mild surprise. "You know how to move cattle?" She lifted her chin. "I know how to move animals." "All right then," he said gently. "Let's see what you've got." He didn't laugh, didn't doubt her. He spoke like someone giving real trust that made her stand taller. Caleb climbed down from his horse. "We'll do it from the ground. It's easier for a first try." Naheli nodded. He pointed to the scattered cattle. "They're nervous. We want to guide them slowly. No sudden movements." Naheli swallowed her excitement. She wanted to impress him. She wanted to show she wasn't just a wild girl running after Mustangs. She and Caleb walked toward the herd. The cows lifted their heads, watching the two carefully. "Stay on their side," Caleb whispered. "Not too close. Make yourself calm, steady. They'll feel it." Naheli tried to imitate his slow steps. The cattle shifted, uncertain. When she moved too fast, they backed away. Caleb touched her arm, lightly, not grabbing, just guiding. "Easy. Slow down a bit." She nodded, absorbing his tone, his pace. Even the way he held his shoulders relaxed. She moved again, and this time 2 cows turned and walked toward the main group instead of away from it. Her eyes brightened. They listened. Caleb smiled. "They watched your calm, not your speed." They spent almost an hour guiding the scattered cattle back to the main group. Caleb worked quietly, letting Naheli try things on her own. He corrected her gently when needed, giving her confidence when she did well. She learned how to shift directions without frightening the cows, how to read their eyes, and how to stay patient. When they finished, Caleb tied his horse near a tree and sat down on a flat rock. "You did good." Naheli sat on the grass near him, trying not to show her pride too openly. "Only followed your steps." "That's how learning works," he replied. "Someone shows you the first step. Then you make the next ones yourself." Naheli played with a piece of grass, twisting it between her fingers. "Do you always talk like that?" "Like what?" "Like you're teaching the clouds and the wind lessons too." Caleb laughed softly. "Never thought of it that way." Naheli wanted to smile, but she kept her face steady. "I didn't know cowboys moved cattle so slowly. Thought they used fast horses and loud calls." "That works too," Caleb said. but animals listen best when you speak their language. Calm moves calm, fear moves fear. Nayeli remembered how she had rushed at the Mustang. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. I wasn't calm that day, she admitted in a quiet voice. Caleb shook his head. You were curious and spirited. There's nothing wrong with that, but it almost hurt me. Curiosity isn't the danger, he said gently. Running without thinking is. Nayeli glared at him for a moment, but not out of anger. More like frustration with herself. I wanted to show I could handle it. Why? She hesitated. No one had asked her that before. My people see me as a girl. I want them to see me as strong. Caleb nodded. Strength is good, but strength grows best with patience. She frowned. Patience makes everything slow. Not slow, he corrected, just steady. Nayeli looked away. You're patient with me, why? Because you remind me of myself when I was young. She blinked. You were like me, wild, stubborn, always running ahead of my own feet, he said, with a warm smile. My father used to say I was a small tornado. Nayeli actually laughed. A tornado? You don't look like one? Age calms storms, he said. Life teaches you when to move fast and when to breathe. Nayeli studied him. Caleb didn't talk about himself often, but when he did, it felt honest and clear. She found herself listening more than she expected. The wind picked up gently. The grass danced. Caleb's horse shook its mane. After a quiet moment, Nayeli pointed to the horse. What's his name? Dusty. Why Dusty? He rolls in the dirt twice a day, no matter how much I clean him. The horse snorted as if agreeing. Nayeli laughed again. Her laughter was soft, like a new melody on the wind. Caleb noticed it. It was the first time he saw her truly relaxed. Do you want to pet him? Caleb asked. Nayeli hesitated. Will he bite? Only apples, Caleb said with a playful tone. Nayeli stepped toward Dusty. The horse lifted his head, watching her. Following Caleb's earlier lessons, she moved slowly, allowing the horse to see her approach. She reached out carefully. Dusty nudged her hand gently, accepting her. Her eyes softened with wonder. He likes me. Animals know when someone has a good heart, Caleb said. Nayeli didn't respond, but her cheeks warmed again. After a few quiet minutes, Caleb spoke. Nayeli, there's something I want to tell you. She turned toward him, curious. When you ran after that Mustang the other day, he began, choosing his words with care. You weren't weak. You weren't foolish. You were brave. She stared at him. Then why did you say I run too fast? Because bravery grows even stronger when balanced with wisdom. Nayeli sat back down on the grass, letting his words settle inside her. They made sense. They felt deeper than simple advice. Caleb stood and stretched his back. I need to move the cattle once more before evening. You want to help again? Nayeli shot up immediately. Yes, he smiled at her eagerness. All right then, like before, slow and steady. But today was different. Yesterday, she had been learning. Now, she was practicing. She walked alongside Caleb, matching his rhythm. When the cattle shifted, she remembered how to angle her steps. When one cow hesitated, she waited instead of rushing. She let the land speak through its sounds and movements. Caleb watched her with quiet approval. You're getting it, he said softly. You're reading them well. I'm trying. You're doing more than that. Nayeli felt a warmth in her chest. She did not want to admit it, but Caleb's praise meant something to her, something she didn't fully understand yet. When they finished guiding the cattle, Caleb guided his horse back to the clearing. The sun was beginning to sink, coloring the plains with orange light. Nayeli sat on a fallen log, catching her breath. Caleb handed her a small canteen. Drink. You earned it. She took it gratefully. Do cowboys always work this much? Every day, Caleb said with a grin. Ranching doesn't rest. Nayeli looked around at the open land. It's peaceful here, it is. But it can also be harsh. You have to respect it. I do, she said quietly. Sometimes I just don't think enough. Caleb sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. You're learning. That's what matters. A long silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. The wind moved gently, carrying the warm smell of earth. Then Caleb spoke again. Nayeli. The lesson you learned today and the one you learned the other day. Those will help you for the rest of your life. What lesson? He looked at her with calm eyes. Strength with patience. Spirit with steadiness. Ellie breathed slowly. I'm trying. And you're doing well, he said. Better than you know. Nayeli felt her heart beat a little faster. She didn't understand exactly why. When she finally stood to leave, Caleb walked with her part way. Not because she needed help, but because he wanted to make sure she reached the hill safely. Before she turned toward her camp, she stopped and looked at him. Caleb, she said softly. Thank you, he tipped his hat with a gentle smile. Anytime, Nayeli. As she walked away, the sky glowing behind her, she felt something new, a calm she had never felt before. A sense that she was changing, growing, becoming more than she had been. She looked back once. Caleb was still there, watching with quiet pride. One moment the plains were calm, soft sunlight touching the grass. And the next moment, dark clouds rolled in like a giant gray wall stretching across the sky. The wind picked up sharply, bending the grass and sending dust swirling across the open land. Nayeli had been walking near the hills again, following the tracks of a rabbit, when she felt the first cold drops of rain. She looked up. The sky had turned heavy and dangerous. She knew storms on the plains could grow fierce and sudden. She tightened her small, animal skin cloak and squinted into the distance. Where was Caleb? She had seen him earlier, moving his cattle toward higher ground. The storm must have caught him in the middle of gathering them. If he was still out there, he might need help. Nayeli hesitated only for a heartbeat. Then she ran. Her feet pounded over the wet earth, her hair whipping in the wind. Lightning flashed far away, followed by deep thunder. She knew these lands well, but the storm made everything look different, harsher, faster, more dangerous. The wind pushed her back, but she kept going. She finally saw movement ahead. A horse running in nervous circles and a cowboy trying to calm it. It was Caleb. Relief washed over her, but she didn't slow down. She reached him just as a loud crash of thunder made Dusty, his horse, rear up in fear. Caleb had one hand on the reins, but the wind was fierce, and the horse jerked hard, nearly pulling him off balance. Caleb. Nayeli shouted. He turned, shocked to see her there. Nayeli. What are you doing out here? Helping, she replied breathlessly. Caleb opened his mouth to argue, but another flash of lightning struck close enough to startle the cattle nearby. They began running in different directions, panicked by the loud sky. Caleb gritted his teeth. Storm scared them again. We need to guide them to the ridge before the river rises. I will help, Nayeli said with firm resolve. Caleb saw the determination in her eyes, the same wild spirit she always carried, but different now, calmer, stronger, more focused. He nodded. Stay close to me. They moved together toward the scattered cattle. The wind whipped around them, making it hard to see or hear clearly. Rain fell harder now, soaking through clothes and chilling the skin. The cattle were confused and frightened. Some ran toward the open plain, others toward the lower riverbed, where the water would soon rise dangerously high. Caleb cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted, Ellie, stay on their right side. Keep them from going to the river. Nayeli didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the group of cattle running dangerously close to the riverbed. She waved her arms and shouted, trying to get their attention. One cow turned away, then another. Her heart raced, but she didn't panic. She remembered Caleb's lessons. Slow steps, not fast, she whispered to herself. Even though everything around her was rushing, she steadied her breathing and moved in wide arcs to redirect the cattle. It worked. The animals began shifting back toward Caleb's position. Meanwhile, Caleb managed the other half of the herd, moving with firm control even as wind pushed against him. Together, they guided the cattle inch by inch toward the higher ridge as safe, a solid area where the storm wouldn't trap them. But the storm kept coming. Thunder cracked again, louder this time. A small bolt of lightning hit the ground not far behind them. The shockwave made Dusty rear and the cattle scatter once more. Nayeli's heart jumped, but she steadied herself quickly. She glanced at Caleb for the first time. She saw worry on his face. He wasn't worried about the cattle. He was worried about her. "Nayeli, stay near me," he called out, but she had already seen something he hadn't. A small calf separated from the group, heading toward the riverbed without waiting. Nayeli ran after the calf. Caleb saw her and rushed after her. "Nayeli, wait." But she didn't stop. The rain hammered the ground. The river, which had been a small stream just an hour earlier, was now rushing with dark water. If the calf got too close, it could slip and be swept away. Nayeli reached it just as it stepped onto the muddy slope. She skidded to a stop, grabbed a handful of grass to anchor herself, and shouted, "Go back! Go back!" The calf, startled, turned and ran toward thee. Nayeli exhaled deeply, but her foot slid on the muddy slope. Her body tilted forward. The river roared. Below her, a strong hand grabbed her. Caleb. He pulled her sharply back to solid ground. She fell against him, trembling from the shock. "What were you thinking?" Caleb said, his voice full of concern but never anger. "You could have slipped." Nayeli took a shaky breath. "The calf. It needed help." Caleb looked into her eyes, the brave, wild eyes that always wanted to do what was right. "You did good, but don't risk yourself like that." She nodded, still catching her breath. Another loud crack of thunder reminded them danger wasn't over yet. Caleb gently guided her back toward the ridge. "Come on, we need to finish this." Together, side by side, they pushed through the storm. The wind battered them. The rain stung their skin. But they worked with steady movements, guiding the cattle carefully until finally, the herd reached the safety of the rocky ridge. The storm still raged, but the cattle huddled in a semicircle against the natural rock wall. "We did it," Nayeli said softly. Caleb nodded, wiping rain from his eyes. "We did." Now came the hard part, getting themselves to safety. The storm was too strong to walk far. Caleb pointed to a small hollow beneath the ridge, sheltered from the worst of the wind. "We'll wait there," he said, "just until the storm calms." They crouched inside the narrow space. Rain roared outside, hitting the rock above their heads. Lightning illuminated the plain in harsh flashes. But inside their little shelter, it felt strangely peaceful. Nayeli hugged her knees and listened to the storm's angry voice. Caleb sat beside her, arms resting on his legs, breathing evenly. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Caleb broke the silence. "You were brave today." Nayeli looked up. "Brave or foolish?" "A little of both," he admitted with a gentle smile. "But mostly brave." She looked down, fingers tracing the dirt beside her. "I remembered your lessons. About patience. About moving steady." Caleb turned slightly toward her. "And you did better than many grown ranch hands I've worked with." Niall's heart warmed. His praise always felt different. Not heavy, not demanding, just honest. The rain softened a little. The wind calmed. Nayeli spoke again, her voice quieter than before. "I want to be strong. But sometimes my heart runs fast. Too fast." Caleb nodded. "Strength isn't just in running into danger. It's also in knowing when to slow down." "When to think like you?" she asked. He chuckled. "I had to learn the hard way how. My father was patient. He taught me the land bit by bit. But I used to rush everything. I wanted to prove myself just like you." Nayeli listened closely. "Did you fall? Like me?" "Many times," he said with a small laugh. "Once I tried to rope a wild steer by myself. Nearly got kicked into next week." She laughed, a soft, warm sound that eased the cold around them. Caleb looked at her with gentle seriousness. "I'm proud of you today, Nayeli." Her breath caught slightly. No one had ever said those words to her before, not like this. She blinked, unsure how to respond. So she simply said, "Thank you." The storm finally began to fade. The clouds rolled away slowly, revealing a pale evening sky. The rain stopped. Only the quiet dripping of water from rocks remained. Caleb stood and stretched. "We should head back before it gets dark." Nayeli nodded. Her legs felt tired, but her heart felt stronger than ever. They walked across the softened ground, their steps quiet. Dusty followed, shaking water from his coat. The cattle remained safe. Calm now, after the storm. Nayeli looked around at the land, at the hills, the plains. The river still rushing, but not dangerously high anymore. Everything looked different after the storm, clearer, brighter. She looked at Caleb. He walked with steady steps, his presence comforting and strong. She realized something then, something important. She had changed, not because he told her, I too, not because he corrected her, but because he guided her, because he believed in her, because he taught her how to balance her wild heart with calm steps. When they reached the edge of her tribe's land, she stopped. Caleb paused too. This is where I leave you, he said softly. Nayeli hesitated. Will you be here tomorrow? Caleb smiled gently. Every day. This land is my home, she nodded, her chest warm. I will come again. To learn more, I'll be here, he said. Nayla took a step toward her camp, then turned back. Caleb. Yes, you taught me a lesson. A good one. He tipped his hat. And you taught me something too. What? That spirit and courage can be as strong as patience. Nayeli smiled, a real smile, soft and bright. Then she walked toward her camp, her steps steady, her heart calm, her spirit wiser than before. Caleb watched her until she disappeared behind the hill, and though the storm had passed, he knew something new had begun, a quiet friendship, a bond built on respect, learning, and shared strength, a lesson that would stay with both of them forever.